Okay, everybody, we're going to do a little background information here, a little background presentation on Greek drama, so you can get a sense of what kind of study we will be discussing with Antigone, and just kind of introduce some concepts related to classical tragedy. So to start us off, I want to give some background. So the Greek theater began as a religious ceremony in a celebration of the god Dionysus, who was the god of wine and fertility. The historical origins of Greek theater date back to the 6th century BCE, and drama as we know it comes from the 5th century BCE. The three great writers of tragedy that we discuss in class are going to be Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, but for the purposes of Antigone, we will be talking about Sophocles. The Greek theater is the venue. So I wanted to show you guys a little picture of what the Greek theater looked like. So as you can see here, we have what was called the skene or the altar at the front of the theater. This is the orchestra section right here. And then the theatron is the viewing place where the people sat in order to watch the play. The skene in the front is kind of the theater place where the acting took place, and you'll see that there were these walkways on the side called the parados, in which actors came to and from the orchestra and the skene to the stage. The Theater of Dionysus. So the beginning in circa 330 BCE, you'll notice that the theater was pretty simple. Here we have the altar in the front and we have the orchestra with the seating place over here to the outside. But the question is, what do you notice here once we start to get a newer and more modern version of the Greek theater? The Theater of Dionysus circa 2nd century BC, we see that we've added a second story here and that it's a little bit larger. Right here, Theater of Dionysus, so 1st century Roman influence. Okay, so what do you notice is different? The advancement and interest of the Romans, there are a couple pieces missing, and this architecture has actually changed. So right here we see that the altar is gone, where the Greeks had worshipped their gods and idols. We start to see an architecture that looks significantly different than the last pieces. Here's an aerial view of the theater, so you can see how large the viewing place was, and kind of the tent area where you see the actors would come and go, as well as the passageways on either side of the skene and the orchestra, and then the background area where you probably housed your stage equipment or your actors, etc. Okay, so the structure of the Greek play, so the basic structure of a Greek tragedy is fairly simple. After a prologue spoken by one or more characters, the chorus enters, singing and dancing. Scenes then alternate between spoken sections and dialogue between characters and chorus, and sung sections during which the chorus dances. Here are the basic parts of a Greek tragedy. The prologue, spoken by one or two characters. This prologue is important because it usually gives the mythological background necessary for understanding the events of the play. So here you're going to see the setting and kind of the context of what story is about to evolve in your play. The parados is the song sung by the chorus as it first enters the orchestra and dances. The first episode is the first of many episodes when the characters and chorus talk and they go through the plot of the play. And then the first stasimon is at the end of each episode where other characters usually leave the stage, and then the chorus dances and sings a choral ode or song. The song usually reflects on the things said and done in the episodes and puts the episode's plot into some kind of larger mythological framework. So it kind of sets the stage for the larger story in terms of the Greek mythology. For the rest of the play, there's alternating between episodes and stasima until the final scene called the exodus. At the end of the play, the chorus exits singing a processional song which usually offers words of wisdom related to the actions and the outcome of the play. So here you might see the reflection on the meaning of the play or the moral of the story. Drama vocabulary. So this is important for you guys to consider. When we talk about drama, we talk about a tragic hero or a person of high rank who accepts their downfall with dignity. The tragic hero is a common archetype or a model from which other heroes have been copied. The protagonist is the main character of the play with whom the audience identifies. And then we have the antagonist, the character who opposes the protagonist in goals and desires. We have a character or person or role in the play, and then we have a foil or a character whose traits contrast with another's, not necessarily a protagonist. The tragic hero also has an important characteristic. They have a tragic flaw or an error in judgment or a weakness in a character, such as pride or arrogance, that helps bring about the hero's downfall. Oftentimes we talk about catastrophe or a disastrous conclusion at the end of the play that usually involves multiple deaths. If the tragic hero does not die, then he or she usually suffers complete ruin. A crisis is a divisive point in the plot in which the outcome of the remaining action depends. A monologue is a long speech by one single character. A soliloquy is a monologue that reveals the inner thoughts of a single character, which is usually spoken with the actor on stage alone. And an aside is a direct address to the audience, often for humor. Convention is anything in a play that is not believable, but we must accept as necessary part of the play so that we can understand the play. Examples of dramatic conventions we must accept. The convention of time and space, a presentation of scenes years apart compressed into 2 hours, for example. Also, one scene occurring in a living room and then the next scene occurring in a bar room, for example. Also, the capacity for characters to have asides and soliloquies. The ancient Greeks believed in the idea of fate or destiny preordained by the gods, no matter what action a person takes in the present. We're going to talk about this quite a bit, not only with Antigone, but also just a larger discussion of Greek drama and tragedy. And so we want to think that, do the Greeks believe that humans or actors were able to escape their fate or not? So this is going to be one of the central themes of Antigone that we're going to talk about. What about individual free will, and what part does that free will play in characters' decisions? So the House of Thebes, I just want to review to you very quickly. When we talk about Antigone, she was the daughter of Oedipus and Jocasta, and she had, as you see here, 2 brothers, Eteocles and Polynices, and then one sister, Ismene. And so we're going to be discussing these characters a lot in the play. Creon was one of Antigone's uncles through her mother's side, and Creon's wife's name was Eurydice, and Creon had a son named Haemon. So you guys, whenever you're interested, you can kind of study up on the royal line of Thebes and investigate the different characters that we'll be talking about in the play. One of the questions to begin is, where's your ultimate loyalty? So one of the main themes of Antigone is loyalty. Who are we loyal to and why? And when we are challenged in this loyalty, what decisions do we make and why do we make those decisions? And what kind of a character do we become after we've decided to make, life outcomes based on, or make life decisions based on our loyalty? So one of the things you might consider is, what's your most important loyalty? Are you the most loyal to your family, to civil law, to the protection of your country, or protection of a personal dignity? And this is where we're going to pick up in class when we start talking about Antigone. And so we'll wait and discuss these ideas with you further. But thanks so much for your introduction to Greek theater by Ms. Schenk.